Guest and welcome in Glenn Grunwald.
Thanks a lot, Rob. Last Monday of the month, and joining us now is Mayor Stacy Goss. She's the mayor of Hutchinson. Good morning, Stacy. Good to see you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so glad to have you out. A lot of topics to talk about. We'll get in some of the public meetings and things like that are happening. But the citywide cleanup dumpster days were this past weekend. We have one close to where we live, and I tell you, it is heaping by Friday night. It is full, and then they dump it and bring back another one, and they fill it up again. That's one of the better programs I think the city has for the citizens of Hutchinson.
It is. It's a great program. So this past weekend, there were 14 dumpsters all around town, and the hope is that as folks are doing their spring cleanup and realizing that your lawn furniture is busted over the winter and stuff like that, you got the garage to clean out. You have somewhere to take it without making a trip to the dump or throwing it in the front yard or doing something else unsightly. So last year, there were 63 loads taken away with a total of 129 tons of waste. So it's a successful program each year, and as far as I know, it's going to go on and on and on.
Now, you only do it in the spring, or have you done it in the fall before?
My understanding, it's only ever been in the spring. I think there's an argument to be made that it could be done in the fall. Last summer we had all those windstorms and lots of broken trees, and so we had, I think it was for a week or two, we had the sports arena where you could drop off in Rice Park. You could drop off broken branches, and they took that all away. That was really busy. I think people were pleased with the turnout on that program, and if we need to do that again, we always can. That would be really easy for us to spin that back up if it's necessary.
I forgot all about that, but you're exactly right, we did that. But it's nice. A lot of folks like to have garage sales, but sometimes you just have junk. Like you said, broken lawn chairs that nobody's going to take, and a lot of people don't have access to pickups to be able to go out take things out to the landfill.
Or if you have a small car, and or if you're not even, if you don't have the physical strength to get things taken off. The great thing about the cleanup is we make this program available, but also if you ever do fill your dumpsters and need an extra dump, them to come by with an extra dump, or if you have a large item, you just call the city and they'll add it onto your next water bill. So like if you have 3 dumpsters and you fill them, it's $15 for one revisit, and they'll empty all 3 dumpsters for that $15. And all you do is call. I called one day at 11 o'clock and they were there by 4. And
it's nice to know, because a lot of people when they're moving, maybe not going to be back there and want to know what to do with the stuff. And that's a good situation. So that was a citywide cleanup that just took place. That's a lot of pounds of junk, so to speak, that is off the street. Railroad improvements coming to Hutchinson. I saw your pictures on your Facebook where you traveled around town and took pictures of the different railroad crossings. Some are really in disrepair, and hopefully we'll get those fixed. Yeah,
so we have a combination of 3 railroads who really have a lot of crossings in Hutch: Union Pacific, BNSF, and then the OK. And so I called Union Pacific and BNSF and talked to them both. For Union Pacific, I gave him a handful of sites to visit, and he said that he would get out there and evaluate and put together a repair plan. But for BNSF, they actually told me that they have a capital improvement project that's going to start in October. They will be looking at every single crossing in town, which is a dozen at least, and they'll be making repairs not only to those crossings, but to some of the other mechanisms around town, some of the bars, the crossbars, and some of the tracks themselves needed some repairs too.
Well, I know when we had the detour for the Woody Seat to go down South Main, a couple of those areas where you really had to slow down, or you're going to find yourself at the realignment shop the next day. So glad to see that is taking place. I know a lot of our constituents out there, the residents of Hutchinson, glad about that as well. Blighting commercial properties on the May 6th agenda. That's on the May 6th agenda coming up this next week. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so on May 6th, the council will hear presentations from staff for 10 different commercial properties in town. It's going to be quite a long meeting because we also have some other items on the agenda, but these 10 properties are kind of spread out all over town, and we'll be following the same process as we did with the atrium, the Worm building, and then the Bernard's building. So we'll hear a presentation. We'll set a hearing typically for 30 days. And then at that next hearing, we'll will hear from staff as well as from the property owners again. And our determination will be to determine the property as blighted. Does it meet that particular threshold? And then we'll set a period of time to allow the owner to abate the issues. Kind of a new process, but I think staff is getting really good at it as we went through three major not battles, but three major hearings with those former properties formerly mentioned. But we also have the ability to require a bond for the work that's being done, which is kind of like our insurance policy that says if you don't either put up the funds that says you're going to do it, then we pull the bond and then we demolition the building without it costing taxpayers anything. If no bond is put up or bond satisfaction, the right type of bond isn't put up is what I'm trying to say, then the city can demolish the building and then we put that cost of demo on the tax roll. That's what we did with the atrium. The Bernard's building and the Worm building have followed a little different paths, but it's all the same process, and so it can move forward in numbers of different ways.
What's important to know is the owners of these buildings do have an opportunity to be able to give you the plan as to what they plan to do and how to bring them up to code, so to speak, make them safe for people that live in the town. Yep,
and for many of these properties, it's no surprise that they're going to be on the list on May 6th. First of all, they've already received letters and whatnot because it's only a week or so away. But the other thing is, for many of these properties, they've been receiving code violation letters for years and years and years. And so it's not going to be a surprise if they're on the list for May 6th. I don't have the list in front of me. I don't think it's actually been provided to council, but I've talked about them with city staff over the past weeks. So I think this kind of serves as a warning for derelict property owners, if you will, moving forward, that this isn't what Hutch is going to stand for, and we're going to start cracking down. I think things got a little loose over during COVID, and that's not what we stand for any longer. We really need to get some properties cleaned up.
I think as people come into town, drive in either direction, you can see some different properties that certainly need to be, some attention needs to be given to them. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Before we take a break real quick, the other day I was looking online and saw some of the youth city council. And that was really interesting to watch. Just like the city council has their meetings, your youth council is up and running as well.
Yep. I actually sat with one of them at a lunch last week. She was participating in the Civics Beat also, and chatted with some of the gals on the council, and they have some really great ideas. It's really exciting to watch them. You know, you look at people who haven't never been told no, but they haven't been told no as many times as council members or as our staff, and so they come up with different ideas, and it's really exciting to hear what they can come up with.
Yeah, it was fun to watch, and I watched that just the other day. They did a great job. Young ladies did a very good job. If you haven't caught that, you can go to especially the Facebook page on the city council and be able to take a look at that. We're going to take a break. We'll come back and talk about the Hutchinson Fly-In and open house coming up, and a couple other public meetings that will be taking place this next week. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back. Chatting with Mayor Stacy Goss about some of the activities that are taking place, where I talked about the citywide cleanup, railroad improvements as place blighted commercial properties. They're going to be talking about those on the May 6th agenda. We had Doug Bennett on this morning to talk about the Hutchinson Fly-In and open house. That's happening this weekend. Last time was 4 years ago. That's a nice event that, of course, folks that don't know, the airport falls underneath the guidance of the city council.
Yeah, and they do have their own advisory board, but I love the airport. I think it's such a gem to have in Hutch. And the fly-in and air show is going to be amazing. The last one was 4 years ago. I took my little one, who's now not so little, and have this amazing picture of him standing in front of an airplane, making airplane arms, and it's so cute. But I really appreciate the event. It's family friendly. It's stroller and wheelchair and wagon friendly, so I really encourage everybody to come out and bring all the kids, because not only will you be able to see the airplanes, but there's classic cars and music and water drops and food trucks.
It's a big party.
They're going all out. It's going to be fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun. That's happening, of course, this week. Starts at 9 o'clock on Saturday.
Yep.
So that's coming up this Saturday. Also, now coming up, also a couple things. The CID with the Uptown Hutch public meeting, that's going to be taking place. And also you have the May 8th public meeting on Memorial Hall. That seems to be on everybody's agenda to some extent, to be able to have an opportunity to provide input, but also you guys on May 6th are going to talk about some of the specifically the RFPs that have been put up for that.
Yeah. So on the 6th, we'll talk about I don't know that we're going to talk about the RFP yet.
Okay.
It is out there. It's on the website. It's out for public to look and put their best if they have any plans. But we're really looking for a specific type of developer with funding and backing and a long-term plan. And I'll talk about that in just a minute. But on the 6th, we'll also talk about the mall CID. So there's 2 CIDs at the mall. One of them is like the movie theater, Hobby Lobby, Walmart, and then all of the restaurants coming off of 17th Street. The other part of that is Uptown Hutch, or what we call the mall, which has its own entrance and all of that. So it essentially incorporates the food court and everything to the other end. So it's hard to say that one is in bad shape and the other one's not, but it's also hard to try to hold one accountable for what their neighbor is doing, because we don't do that in any other code, whether it's commercial or residential. You don't get a ticket if your neighbor didn't mow his lawn, right? So I asked our city manager, Enrico Villegas, to pull the CID that covers the other portion of the mall property, so that at the same time we're having a conversation about enforcement on not only their portion of the perimeter road, but also the Walmart parking lot, the crummy landscaping and the trees that are way overgrown and dead, because every time there's a landscaping plan and a CID, they've put in specifics for what their maintenance terms are. And we don't know if they're meeting those if we don't revisit that periodically, at least periodically. We can look and say they're not because there's potholes, but what does the contract say? And that's what we need to know as a council and as a staff, so that we can hold everybody accountable and move forward with a clear understanding of how the properties are divided, because it isn't fair to hold the owners of Uptown Hutch responsible for what their neighbors have done or haven't done, respectively. That being said, the CID for Uptown Hutch would change the tax from a 1% to a 2%, which would allow them to reinvest some funds, change entrances, kind of close down the majority of the mall. And the food court, to my understanding, would stay open for mixed use, but the rest of the mall would be shut down, and 3 new exterior-facing businesses would be opened. I think that's a solid plan. I don't know what the residents think yet. We haven't had a whole lot of feedback in council, and that's what we're looking for, is feedback in council, not just gripes on Facebook. We really want to hear from people that night. So I look forward to hearing from everybody, because on paper it sounds solid, but if the residents don't want it, then the residents don't want it, and the council needs to hear from them.
Yeah, then that's your opportunity to speak up, so
Absolutely.
Take advantage of it. Stacy, thanks a lot. We ran out of time already, but good topics to talk about. Of course, folks always can look and go to the city council meeting or watch it online as well to know what's going on in our fair city. So appreciate you stopping by.
Absolutely.
We'll take a break. Top of the hour news coming your way on KWBW Hutchinson, Kansas.